History rewards the innovator, the pioneer, the trailblazer. For over 30 years, Supermicro has been fueling innovators and visionaries with the industry's best computing resources. We have built the industry's widest portfolio of storage servers with the largest open ecosystem of leading storage hardware so that you can be first. Welcome to Supermicro's 2025 Open Storage Summit.
Hello and welcome everyone. In this episode, we're going to be talking about modernizing enterprise applications for AI as part of the Supermicro Open Storage Summit. I'm Rob Strechay, Managing Director and Principal Analyst. As AI reshapes the enterprise technology landscape, application modernization is no longer a choice. It's a competitive necessity. Traditional monolithic systems and legacy databases are struggling to keep pace with the demands of AI-native workloads, real-time decision-making, and elastic scale. In response, enterprises are accelerating their shift toward open, cloud-native architectures, placing platforms like Postgres at the center of modern data strategies. Postgres offers the extensibility, cost-effectiveness, and open ecosystem support that enterprises need to evolve beyond proprietary systems, but to fully harness its potential, especially for AI-driven applications, organizations must rethink how they deliver performance at every layer of the stack. High-performance block storage is critical here, enabling low-latency, high-throughput access for transaction-heavy Postgres workloads. This becomes even more essential as AI inference and OLTP processing begin to converge in real-world use cases. Kubernetes is playing a pivotal role in this evolution as enterprises replatform applications for agility, scalability, and portability. Kubernetes has emerged as a foundational control plane for deploying, scaling, and managing modern OLTP environments. When combined with AI-enhanced microservices, this enables teams to build intelligent applications that are both cloud-native, data-driven, and capable of delivering insights in real time. In today's conversation, we'll explore how infrastructure, data, and application layers are aligning to meet the demands of AI. We'll unpack the shift from legacy databases to Postgres with the importance of high-performance storage and explore why Kubernetes-centric modernization is essential for delivering the next generation of enterprise applications. I'm really excited to have my panel here to really help me dig in on this. I have Joon-Shia Zhao from Supermicro. I have Shiva Gurumurthy from AMD. I have Sagi Volkov from Lightbits. And I have Simon Lightstone from EDB. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Thank you.
So let's kind of dig in a little bit from each of your perspectives on this. I think that when we look at modernizing enterprise applications for AI and getting ready for what everybody's been talking about for the last couple of years now, ever since the moment happened that really Gen AI came on, now we have agentic AI and inference and RAG. There's a lot to get ready for. So Joon-Shia, why don't you take us through Supermicro's perspective on this?
Thank you, Rob. First of all, I'm sure happy to be part of this session with partners from EDB, Lightbits, and AMD. So today we will explore how Supermicro can cooperate with industry leaders for enterprise AI. The AI world is hitting a big turning point. In the past few years, a couple dozen companies have led the charge in developing and training AI. And now we are seeing a big shift that enterprises are adopting AI at scale. And so this transition from the AI modeling to inference and real-time applications requires a new approach to computer infrastructure. Supermicro has been driving this change from this start, helping businesses move experimentation to full-scale deployment. By delivering the rack-scale solution, Supermicro is making the AI infrastructure more accessible to enterprises of all sizes. So I want to spend some time to explain what kind of pain points when enterprise deploy their AI infrastructure and how Supermicro rack scale resolve their pain points. As we know, most enterprise comes from a history of picking discrete infrastructure component one by one. This can make the AI infrastructure can be complex to design, deploy, and manage, even with potential bottlenecks limiting the scalability and the performance. And second, large-scale clusters consume a significant volume of energy, leading to the high operational cost and the potential cooling efficiency. Lastly, networking complexity is become a major consideration, especially in the AI data center deployment, especially for the large-scale clusters. With Supermicro rack scale solution, it can simplify the deployment and improve the energy efficiency. So with the Supermicro rack scale solution, we start with consultation, have a conversation with customer to determine the platforms and the components, and then we design the solution based on customers' workloads and the power budget, and then we will assemble the whole rack and test, validate the whole rack in-house before the shipment. So customer just plug in and connect to their networking and power. It significantly reduces the setup time. We also provide the ongoing on-site services to our customer, make sure the cluster at the customer site will be running smoothly going forward. The rack scale market is really booming. We expect it to jump from $4.30 billion in 2023 to $7.57 billion through 2030. Supermicro is the market leader in this industry, and our total solution can handle everything. Customers don't need to deal with multiple vendors. We also expanded our total solution from the system to rack, cluster, and the data center building solutions. So it's very important for us to highlight some strategic partnership which enable us to deliver the comprehensive and cutting-edge technologies. One of such strategic partnership is with EDP, Leibniz, and AMD. Powered by AMD processors, Leibniz can deliver the high-performance, low-latency block storage to support the demanding database applications like EDP. EDP provides the enterprise-grade Postgres solutions to support the IO-intensive enterprise workloads.
I think that really helps us, and I think when people are looking to modernize these applications, they should also be looking at it how they're doing that in a way that helps get them to that next step of AI for their enterprise applications. So Shiva, kind of help us understand where AMD comes in. I mean, Junjie just did a great job of laying out how it does for the rack scale, but help us understand where the processors and GPUs are playing in this game as well.
Right. So AMD has become a building block of all the stuff that Junjie has talked about previously. We have a broadest portfolio of AI-related products in the industry, and I'll talk more about the AMD EPYC specifically. But AMD EPYC CPUs form the center of a lot of AI systems that are shipping today, both in terms of being a host node for GPUs in general, and also an inferencing powerhouse for inference deployments where CPUs actually perform really well as well. So that is AMD EPYC CPUs on the server side. We also have our AMD Instinct line of products, which is our GPU, which is more suited for heavy-duty training and also a lot of inference in the industry today. Apart from that, we also have certain infrastructure products. Like on the networking side, we released our recent Pensando produced product for networking, which is we call the DPU, and that really enables data transfers between those nodes, keeping it engaged with all the compute that is going on. Apart from that, we are also part of a lot of open standards. The Ultra Accelerator Link is one of the new industry standard that's coming up, and AMD is a big promoter and supporter of that standard. And also, we also have AMD Versal products, which actually are FPGAs, which can do inference very efficiently. So all said and done, we deliver the broadest technology for anything related to AI. And Supermicro is actually owns the broadest portfolio of AMD products. So it's a great partnership. We also work closely with our other partners, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. But what I want to stress here is that AMD is here to stay. We have grown market share tremendously. We are about 40% market share today. And a lot of companies, big companies, have entrusted us with their data center deployments. You can see the big names there. You can read for yourself. Netflix, everybody runs today on AMD and being very happy about it, and also are buying more. So in a way, we have made our presence felt in the market, and also that's mostly because we perform really well in any of the workloads that they have thrown to us. And today we'll talk more about PostgreSQL, which is the topic of the discussion today, and we perform really well. There are two types of benchmarks that customers care about. One is transactional based, which we call OLTP, how fast do you do the transactions? And another one is query based analytics, which also is a key requirement for customers. For the transactions, so you can see that we are 58% better performance than the leading products from our competition. And also on the query side, we are about 15% better performance than the competition. Now, here's the kicker. We are using a single CPU server comparing to the competition's 2 CPU server. So that in itself is a tremendous cost benefit as well. So we are doing all this with half the number of CPUs per server, right? So that's exactly what AMD is all about, and this is what customers would benefit from when they're using AMD products, is cost savings, performance, no compromise, right? So that's what I'd like to say about AMD.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and I think you hit on it very well in the fact that if you can do that with one CPU and be able to be efficient, that helps with power, that helps with other constraints as well as software licensing, I would expect is also. Sagi, help us understand, block storage, go fast storage really is critical to a lot in Kubernetes. I know from just being at a lot of KubeCon, Cloud Native Cons, and things of that nature. Help us understand where Lightbits is fitting into this.
Yeah, so Lightbits in a shell is a software-defined storage solution, which means you can run it anywhere, though we do like to partner with companies such as Supermicro, where we create some sort of a reference architecture, something that we validated and tested. The ability to run on a very small footprint and provide millions of IOPS is basically what all of our customers are looking for. They want to have as many IO operations in as little as possible footprint in their data centers. So Lightbits was basically 3 pillars, if you want to call it, were built on. The first one is NVMe over TCP, which is a protocol that we invented a few years ago, donated it into the Linux community, into the network and storage community. In fact, it's being used today by most, if not all, storage vendors. But we invented this protocol, and one of our key features in here is that we are the first software that utilized this protocol into the max. What we also add on top of that, on our target side, is our intelligent flash management. And that basically enhance the life cycle of the SSDs that are used to store all the data. We basically enhance the life cycle of these devices by reducing garbage collections on the hardware side, and also enhancing the performance of read and writes as well. And the third pillar is, of course, clustering. For any storage solution, you need to have a lot of resiliency. Data is the most important part in our data centers. One of the key benefits for Lightbits perspective is that you can choose the number of replicas for each volume, or in Kubernetes, a PVC that you are creating, either 1 or 2 or 3 replicas. We in the back take care of where to place all these copies of data, how to best utilize the capacity inside the Lightbits cluster. Going back to Kubernetes, a lot of our customers are running Kubernetes, also all sorts of flavors of Kubernetes. We have a strong partnership with Red Hat. A lot of customers are running OpenShift, but also vanilla, also with Kubernetes from Ubuntu. Basically, we wrote our CSI, and you use it on any Kubernetes flavor that you want to use. We do have, of course, drivers also for OpenStack with the Cinder, even for vSphere. And of course, we have customers where the performance is at most important. People run things also at the bare metal. Just to go back on what I said about the Linux kernel community, NVMe over TCP driver is part of the Linux kernel since 4.10. It's been years already out there. Any enterprise Linux that you are using today, in the last, let's say, 5 years, have this built in. Nothing for you to add on the client side. The last slide, and we will, I guess we'll maybe go back to it later. This is some tests that I've ran on the X14 platform from Supermicro with the AMD CPUs using EDB CNPG, which is cloud native Postgres. Basically, what this graph is showing is stressing this cluster of just 3 worker nodes and 3 Lightbits targets, and adding more and more EDB clusters as we grow. And what you can see here is that this is a very small footprint. 3 worker nodes, 3 servers that runs Lightbits. We're looking at about close to 1 million transactions per second of read-only. We're looking at about 700,000 transactions per second from 12 clusters of EDB for a 90% read, 10% write. These are massive numbers. That means basically that you can use this platform to consume all these IOs, play with how many Postgres databases you want to actually have, and also even use it in an environment where there's multiple customers using the same environment.
Yeah, so you're here proving out some of the scalability and efficiency and some of the ways that people can different deployments, like you said, with OpenStack, with VMware and vSphere or VCF as they call it now, and also Kubernetes, all the different Kubernetes plus your Linux. I think that to me is the flexibility a lot of these organizations are looking for as well, and are trying to say, hey, here's exactly how it all rolls out. Now, you talked about Postgres. That brings up EDB. Simon, kind of help us understand EDB, where you sit in here around Postgres. Got a great story, so.
Yeah. So EDB is the #1 contributor to Postgres. Postgres is a community code database, an open source database, and it's been around for about 20 years. Since then, EDB has been championing Postgres. According to developer surveys, Postgres is the most popular database in the world. It's also the most loved database in the world. So at EDB, we provide both enterprise editions of Postgres with many other capabilities, and we also provide paid support for companies. And we have a new Postgres data and AI platform, which has a lot of exciting capabilities and that make databases and AI work well together and let you build AI apps very easily. So of course, we have a lot of big banks as customers, as you can see, such as MasterCard, DBS, Bank of Montreal, and the list of customers that need EDB to provide mission-critical Postgres just gets bigger and bigger every year. So we power all sorts of mission-critical systems at EDB. That includes the power grid for the United Kingdom. It includes billions of credit card transactions every single day. It includes over 400 million Indian citizens who rely on Postgres for payments every single day. So we're talking about very mission-critical systems that absolutely cannot go down. Now, in terms of one thing that brings us here today, and in terms of Postgres and Supermicro, we have a really exciting partnership with Supermicro, which solves 4 problems that we've seen. And those are, one is just getting mission-critical performance. It's difficult to make sure that you're tuning everything correctly and that you have the very best hardware tuned for performance. So we work with Supermicro together to make sure we curate the very best configuration and performance, getting about 6 times the value of regular Postgres. The other one is extreme high availability. This is a place where companies just want a simple solution, right? They want to make sure that they design their data center such that if one part of that data center goes down, maybe you call that a fault domain or availability zone, then your databases are going to continue running, without a blink, right? So that's another item that customers really wanted to really make simple. And that we made simple with this solution as well. In the Sovereign Data and AI Factory, which I'm going to talk about a bit more throughout this partnership with Supermicro, we make it very easy to provide that high availability. Next is just making things very, very simple. We wanted to create a simple solution, and this means that you don't have to worry about having everybody in the entire organization trained on every single element of Postgres. You don't have to understand the underlying layers, such as Red Hat OpenShift, which we have included to provide the sort of resiliency that we spoke about. You spoke about, Red Hat OpenShift is a flavor of Kubernetes, right? And finally, tying all these great data elements into AI, right? And not just AI and making it easy to deploy AI, but making that AI fully sovereign and also getting that AI into production. One thing that I think all the vendors here, I've actually worked with many of these vendors to make sure that EDB Postgres runs really, really well, is that, the era of AI just being an augmentation of just helping your support reps is that era is over. Now we're talking about real mission critical AI that needs to run like clockwork. So it needs to be highly available. And that, by the way, of course, that means storage and hardware that's going to be able to pick up that sort of resiliency. But it also means that now you're going to have, a few or 2 or more nodes of your AI, nodes of compute for your AI that are going to be fail-safe in case one fails. Because now, if you have AI responding to national disasters, if you have AI doing real-time fraud detection, this is no longer a nice-to-have. It's something that must run 24 hours a day, just as critical as Postgres. So in terms of the Sovereign Data and AI platform, which is a really great partnership between Supermicro and EDB, a lot of people say, well, just give me a nutshell, what is it? So fundamentally, it's an integrated stack of hardware and software from Supermicro, very performant hardware from Supermicro, software from EDB, and other management components that just make it dead simple to run mission-critical Postgres and AI workloads inside your own data center, right, across 3 nodes for resiliency or more, in fact. And so what that looks like is first we're going to set it up for the customer together. EDB and Supermicro are going to get that set up for the customer inside their data center. Then we're going to show a bit of demos and do a bit of training, right? And after that, customers are really off to the races. They can deploy a highly available production-grade Postgres cluster in a few clicks. Shortly after putting data in there, with another few clicks, you can actually roll out an agentic AI chatbot, which can even do things like opening support tickets. All of this is done very, very easily in a very short period of time because we spend a lot of time making sure that all the components work together. And then afterwards, of course, one thing that customers have a lot of concern about is what happens a year later when there's security updates. So we provide full lifecycle support for security updates, for major version updates, not just to the Postgres software, but to every component inside the stack, including the OpenShift Kubernetes that you spoke about, which of course means that customers don't need to have 24-hour staffing of Kubernetes specialists around the clock. In terms of our partnership and what that's really yielded, when we worked with Supermicro and when we looked at the EDB data and AI platform, you're basically getting about 6 times the ROI on your database investment, right? Thanks to Supermicro's capabilities and the really extensive work we've done tuning Postgres and EDB Postgres products for Supermicro products. And when you look at the performance, that's 150 times other database competitors like MongoDB, 4 times the next popular open source database, MySQL, and really 6 times less than many other commercial databases out there that you see. So you're getting, you're just getting incredible value and 90% better value when you put it all together. And that's really how Supermicro have worked with us as EDB, the #1 contributor to Postgres, to really just make things easier for customers, making sure that they have one system, one phone number to call whenever they need help with Postgres, whether that's a hardware question or a software question, and just making it dead simple to run mission-critical clusters so they can get on to building their business.
I think that all makes sense in how you all work together to deliver a platform for modernization of enterprise applications to get ready for bringing them to AI. Junxia, how is Supermicro in particular really looking to help enterprises adopt AI at scale?
AI has fundamentally transformed the way business approaching computer infrastructure. Enterprise across multiple industries has rapidly adopted AI for large-scale implementation and operational work. We are observing, there are three trends that we are observing. First, the AI evolution is driving the high demand for optimized hardware, especially for the inference and real-time application, which requires high performance for compute, networking, storage. Second, enterprise want an end-to-end deploy AI infrastructure. A solution can simplify the deployment, no matter it's on-premise, in hybrid environments, or a cloud. Lastly, the power and the cooling efficiency is mission critical right now. As the cluster scales, power consumption becomes a major consideration. Supermicro has the capabilities and expertise to meet the challenge and the demands driven by the AI. First, we are an engineering company. We design and manufacture everything in-house, from the AI-optimized servers to the all-flash high-performance storage server and the liquid-cooled racks. Second, we provide the rack scale plug-and-play solutions that I just mentioned at the beginning, that we provide the one-stop shop service to customer, so eliminating the needs to deal with multiple vendors. Lastly, our leadership in the liquid cooling technology can not only handle the high thermal throughput for the modern GPU, but also ensure consistent performance and heavy workloads. So these capabilities enable us to deliver the plug-and-play solutions, integrate the compute, storage, and the power managed together to deliver the powerful and scalable AI enterprise applications.
Yeah, I think that's so critical for organizations as they look at it, because really, we were joking just yesterday about the fact that is it going to be tokens per watt? Is that what we're going to be starting to calculate, or is and I think when you start to look at it and you look at data centers and power is becoming a constraining factor, along with heat and cooling, that are big contributors to that. Building off of that, let's jump in here, because you have some great representation around how energy costs are impacting modern data centers, and help us understand how AMD's efficiencies really can contribute to solving some of those problems and helping organizations deal with that.
Yeah, great question. So, as you mentioned, power and data center space is becoming a big constraint for modern data centers, especially with the advent of AI. And AMD has built the best energy efficient platforms out there, along with Supermicro. So one of the things, I've showed some performance numbers before. What does it really mean to a customer, right? I mean, better performance, faster throughput, yes, correct. But really what it means is that the customers can now achieve more with less footprints, both in terms of energy and also in terms of data center space. And that tremendously improves or makes them compliant or comply to a lot of those energy budgets or regulations that would be affecting their bottom line, right? And you look at power costs, they're going up, and especially in Europe, you're seeing power costs have gone exponentially. So those are the kind of things that we keep in mind when we design our systems, is to make it very energy efficient. And one of the studies we did in our labs is what you see on the screen is, we calculated how many of the current deployment of servers could we replace and with how many AMD servers, and that's exactly what it is. It's an incredible 7-to-1 consolidation. So by going to AMD, you're actually saving a lot of money right up front, right? That's the real gain here. And what we also found was, up to 68% less power consumption, up to 87% fewer servers to achieve the same results, and also results in a 67% overall TCO. This also frees up space for any data GPU deployments that businesses are considering for their AI deployments. So if you consolidate your data center space, you're actually making space for more of those GPU deployments as well. So either way you win. So that's kind of the mantra for AMD for getting to this level of calculations.
Yeah, I think that's it. How do you do more with the same amount of space and power and cooling that you have there, and do things to really take advantage of that? Kind of, I would say also one of the things that is very critical in this time is really ease of use and how you can get performance and ease and be able to be affordable. Sagi, from a Lightspit's perspective, where do you see that Lightspit's fits into this whole model of really bringing performance, ease of use to organizations as they move towards these modern applications?
Yeah, so the ease of use is the most important thing for us and for our customers, is to be able to easily install Lightbits, and we allow to install it on pretty much any Linux distribution. It gives you a lot of freedom, and the ability to modernize the installation in a way that you can consistently add more servers into the Lightbits cluster, perform all sorts of updates to the operating system, or of course to the Lightbits software as well. All of this is built in basically and done very easily through Ansible and through other automated processes. Also, software-defined storage basically means that whenever you need to add or move something, it is already there. Lightbits, in essence, is a bunch of RPMs that you install and then you clustered. And that gives a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I think that also plays really well because you talk about Ansible, you talk about a DevOps mentality and a platform engineering mentality, which is really where people want to get to with managing their modern applications. Simon, I think from that perspective, where do you see the biggest opportunities, especially when you look at the different personas that are using things like Postgres, like data scientists and developers who are building the next generation of applications that have AI built into them? How do you see that really, I guess you could say, moving forward with the fact that Postgres underneath there is helping them for on-premise type AI factories?
Right, yeah. So I think that there's a lot of personas and specializations that are going to be involved with AI. And, yes, you have people who are developers who are AI developers specifically, but those developers actually don't know too much about the hardware underneath, right? They want to focus on using the right model, those sorts of optimizations. They might know a little bit, but they aren't deep specialists. And you're seeing this challenge where now you need so many specialists in these systems. And as I've said in the past, AI, like all systems, but AI in particular, because of its energy consumption, can cost a lot of money. So you want to make sure that every part of that is optimized and simple. That is one place where the EDB Data and AI platform plays, and in particular our partnership with Supermicro, where we can provide that hardware and also just have specialists in there who will make sure that it's always going to be maintained. However, I think that there's going to be so many roles. You have the app developer who may not know a lot about AI. You have the specialized AI developers, right? You have data scientists who are actually sort of a little bit separate than your AI developers, right? And then you also have what we're seeing now is the emergence of hardware specialists in the AI space who can be in either software or hardware. And we spoke about this in another video, which I hope everyone has a look at, but even just the storage layers that Lightbits does a great job of, and many vendors do a great job of. You have people who specialize in how these models are stored and how they're used on the hardware, right, which is going to have a big impact. And of course, in terms of the ultimate delivery, right, you want to make sure that your AI developers and your AI resources are not, they're putting cycles into actually creating results, right? They aren't putting cycles into patching, they aren't putting cycles into learning, how the underlying bits works. You want them focused on the AI element of the stack. And I think that's one place where, when you think about the Postgres Data and AI Platform, that's where we really shine. First of all, with the Sovereign Data and AI Factory, we make sure that customers are really focusing on those higher levels, and we take care of the updates. We make sure that you have a modern stack, and we make sure that that's running across 3 availability zones in terms of your Postgres. And another thing that I think is also vital is that we do a lot of the heavy lifting with the AI Factory and the Gen AI Builder, so that way, if you're really good at Postgres, you can quickly make that jump, and you can take those specialized skill sets and then use that to actually build, interactive Gen AI apps, chatbots, or other items, or use them for things like fraud detection, or use them however your organization really requires AI to optimize its business.
Yeah, I think that's a good place. So let's stay with AI factories, because I think when people think about AI factories, sometimes it means a lot of different things to them. And I think when you start to see where people start and where they want to go and how they want to build over time and integrate applications and application data either through APIs or direct through database integrations, a lot of that is, how do I bring these things together as I start to think about building agents? Because I have to start somewhere. Maybe I start with RAG, and then I keep moving as I bring more data together. A group question. This is one I came up with here, so we'll see how we go here. I think it's good, though. I think when you look at AI factories, I think one of the keys to AI factories is being talked about. Some of the initial investment can seem a lot larger, but it's, hey, if I go do this, I'm going to be more effective and more cost effective in the long run, and my total cost of ownership will come down. How do you see, or what do you see as the key factors that actually contribute to lowering that TCO as AI factories are built out? We'll start with you, Shiva.
Okay, yeah, so when you look at it as a factory, there is a wide spectrum of AI workloads that it is going to run. And what happens there is that you've got to be very smart about what kind of infrastructure you're going to purchase or invest in. GPUs definitely are going to be part of it, but also there is space for CPUs, and also a lot of other partners in the ecosystem, like the hardware. It could be disks, storage, it could be networking. A lot of decisions have to be made at that level. So the real key thing here is that by right-sizing your deployment, especially with an AI factory model, you can actually save a lot of money, right? And you can get to your ROI really quickly than compared to just not doing that calculations. So the real key there is to right-size and make the right investments to get the results you want, and that's really the key for that.
So how about from a Lightbits perspective in AI factories?
Yeah, so we thrive on performance, and we talked about how much customers and companies have to invest in order to cool an AI factor or create an AI environment. So from Lightbits' perspective, this all comes down into, and I mentioned this, the footprint on an environment that we take. Took us a long time to get to a point where we can, from a single target, provide about 4.5 million 4K reads, which means with a minimal cluster of 3 servers, do the math, more than 13 million. That's exactly what people are looking for. They want to get as much as possible IOPS and throughput from the smallest footprint possible.
So from Simon, from an EDB perspective, as Postgres and EDB Postgres AI gets deployed into these AI factories, it would seem like people want to have a center of gravity and want to be able to use different things within the database. How does that work as well from an EDB perspective?
Yeah, so I think the key is to make it work well, really. And it's all about the speed to which a customer can receive benefit from the system. And generally that means getting into production really quickly with all those components. And that's actually the biggest challenge. It's so easy to create an experimental AI app, but when you're a business, you have to have a system that lets you get into production and get those results quickly. And along that way, that also means that you need to be able to leverage the whole ecosystem, right? In a simple way, right? So with the Sovereign Data and AI Factory, we try to provide that basis, which lets you use vendors like Lightbits, which lets you use the compute that you need and scale that compute over time. And then basically take all those components, centralize them where you can view your whole data estate, make your data useful, and then deploy. So that's really, that's the goal of the AI Factory and one of the best ways that we return value to customers.
Junxie, how do you see this all coming together? Because you're at the center of this at AI Factories being at Supermicro.
Yeah, from the Supermicro perspective, as I mentioned at the beginning, that we expand our total solution from systems to a rack and a cluster, even the data center building storage, building solutions. So it's very flexible, makes Supermicro provides the industrial, the most flexible portfolio, including even the storage servers. So you can start with a small, with a single server, or you can have a rack that full of storage servers or GPU servers that with necessary networkings. So it makes provides the capacity and the performance that are required by the AI Factory. So we can also tune the hardware to meet the capacity and the performance, especially for the enterprise that have the IO-intensive AI-driven data applications.
Yeah, I think that is key, is having that flexibility and being able to scale up and out as you grow. So final question here to the group. I'm going to start with you, Sagi. What do you hope people take away from today and from this segment around as they start down their journey for enterprise application modernization for AI?
Well, first thing is that in the end of the day, the data is the most important part and resides and you need to make sure that you have a very capable, scalable, and modern storage subsystem or cluster in order to support the demands of AI. I think that's very important. We're looking in AI. We're looking at throughput and the amount of data that we have not seen, 5 years ago, and it's only growing. So, take a good look at your storage and then pick the right hardware vendors to support it.
Yep. Simon, I'll let you go next.
Sure. So I think one thing is to make sure that you build everything. As a customer, you should be building everything on open standards, right? And I think that's one thing that all the vendors here embrace. And that's very important because the technology is going to change and evolve. Another thing is that you have to make sure that you begin with the end in mind. And when you do that, you have to think, how is this system going to go into production quickly? It's not just about having a toolbox with a bunch of tools in it. That's quite common. But how do you actually vision taking these tools and going into production across 3 nodes in your data center, in a way that will finally deliver that ultimate business result?
Shiva?
Oh, I would say be patient. AI is more of a train journey rather than a supersonic flight into space. And what we have seen with our customers, a lot of them who succeed are the ones who are patient. And if you are expecting an ROI within the first year, that's not going to really happen. But what I would suggest is a lot of them succeed by picking pilot projects and evolving that into bigger and bigger things, and then they have mastered the art of how to deploy AI in their organizations. So that's kind of the way to go about it. Kind of start small and develop, and you can hire more AI engineers or AI experts as you go. So the growth should be really organic in this particular place. But AI has got a long lifetime.
If you can find them.
Yes.
that's a whole nother topic we could talk about. For Junxie, what do you think people should take away?
You know that the AI has changed the way business approach computer infrastructure, and most of the companies does not have the capability to deploy the complex infrastructure, especially for the GPU servers, racks, networking, etc. So Supermicro rack scale plug and play solutions can definitely simplify the deployment complexity and also give the enterprise the capability to expand the cluster, their data infrastructure as their business grows.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you all for coming on board. This has been fantastic. I think there's a lot of nuggets in here that people will be able to take back and apply to their AI journey as they modernize their enterprise applications. Thanks for coming on board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
And thank you for watching this episode of the Supermicro Open Storage Summit. More to come. Stay tuned.